Heyo, you're listening to Edge Coach Quip, featuring our very own Edge coaches and community, dropping knowledge nuggets to fuel your day. Heyo, you're listening to Coach Quip. I'm Coach Robyn.
I'm Coach Chris.
And you are listening to this week's episode on
talking about staying consistent while you travel.
We're traveling. It's happening.
It is happening, and we are out of practice. We are very out of practice.
Seriously, we were used in the last 3 years having these little incubators, and now starting really in the summer, I know the coaches talked about this a lot, the world opened up. So you were catching up on family reunions and your trips that you put off, and everybody and their mother and their sister and their cousin got married, and everyone said yes to everything. And so then training became real difficult to fit in.
Yeah.
So we're here to break that down.
Yes. So most of us are not professional athletes. You are not getting paid to do your training or racing.
You're paying to do it.
You're paying a lot of money to do it, and you're doing it for fun, right? But you still have goals, and you still have a training plan, and you still have to take steps in order to accomplish those goals. And so we can't throw our training completely away when we go on a trip, but there are some strategies to sort of help you navigate what that looks like. Pre-COVID, I traveled that last year before COVID, I was on the road for 115 days of the year.
Dang.
So 1/3 of my training happened on the road. So I've got
You should write a book on this one.
a couple of tips there. We all have jobs and families and commitments, and we need to fit training around that. So how can we make that happen?
The biggest thing, honestly, is just trying to be consistent when you travel, right? Is it a vacation or is it work travel? Those are different things. You're going to have different amounts of time available. Vacations can also be a full reset, and they can really provide you with fun training opportunities, different types of sports. So depending on where you are in your schedule in terms of your training cycle, it all makes a difference. Work travel definitely comes with a busier schedule, but I will say it also usually is a little bit more structured. So, if you, have to be at a conference from 8 to 5, that you better get up early and get your miles in. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's nice because if you're out late, you're like, well, I gotta leave this work dinner because I got to go and work out in the morning.
Yeah, it is definitely an excuse. I think one of the biggest things is being realistic about your schedule. So if you are on vacation and your intention is to let loose, have a good time, you're going to be spending a lot of time on the beach or, walking around, it's important to think about what your days might look like. So for some of my athletes, 2 of my athletes just went on a 2-week vacation skiing in the Alps. And so
I saw
nice, right? So I knew that they were going to spend a lot of time on feet in the skiing portion. And so we built that in as part of their training. And then the rest of it was going to be a lot of walking around and time on feet, lots of touring, right? So that became part of their training plans. And fortunately, they're at a point in their schedule where it wasn't critical peak time. They had a little more flexibility with their workouts. It's really important to think about what your schedule is going to be like. So, I've had athletes who have traveled, have worked a full day, did their flight at night for a next day morning meeting, and still tried to jump on the treadmill at 11 p.m. to check the box of accomplishing that run.
That's not fun at all.
Yeah, it's not fun. And it's also not always necessary, right? So in that case, I think that athlete would have been better off prioritizing sleep and recovery and then trying to get back on schedule the next day. So having some flexibility and some options is really important when you're traveling. As a coach, I like to write it where people have optional workouts. So they have something that they should be doing if they have time. And then I have a couple of key workouts that I say, this can happen any day, but these are the 2 that I want you to get in on this week vacation.
And I think too, if you work with a coach, just let them know, hey, I got travel coming up, what you have access to, so that they can get creative with your week. And also, or even on your own, you can move your own sessions. Sometimes it's kind of fun to shuffle it.
Yeah, it can be, exciting to be training in a different location. Now, your hotel gym, maybe not the most exciting location, but
not usually.
It is interesting to see some of the ancient equipment that some of these hotel gyms have. But you also have the option of potentially going outside or going to a fitness class in a new city and trying something new. So you might need to shuffle some things around, and usually that's okay. And that'd be something that you'd want to talk to a coach about, or look at your own schedule and think about the big picture of what you're trying to accomplish to see what is actually necessary in that vacation time.
Yeah, and you can, get creative. Your week doesn't always have to look the same, right? You've got travel, especially if it's like a business trip and they're stress related. You might want to drop one of your quality sessions and pivot it over to an easy AF or power pace session. And always, please, if it's a long travel day, make that your off day. Don't try to cram something in on top of a day that, especially if you're a nervous traveler, please do everybody a favor and make that day your true off day.
Yeah, some people struggle with that though. So if I'm traveling on a Monday and a Thursday, and I usually only have one off day, what do I do?
Pick the better flight. Like whatever day has the better flight, you're gonna get it done before then.
Yeah. And I think, shortening your workouts can also be helpful. So there are some options with that of either, so if I was doing a strength training, I would maybe cut my sets back a little bit, or, shorten the amount of workouts, the amount of exercises that I'm doing, so that I'm still doing something to accomplish my goals, but, I'm trying to work within my time constraints.
So, just know in general, travel doesn't have to take you out of your training. It can absolutely be complementary, but you're going to need to be a little bit creative and a little bit flexible. The best part is that you usually know in advance when you're going, so you can plan it out.
Yep. So if you want more tips on how to stay consistent with travel, we've got them for you in our bonus miles. If not, this is your Coach Quip. I'm Coach Chris.
And I'm Coach Robyn. Stay tuned if you want more. Hint, hint.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about actual tips and tricks to stay consistent when you are traveling. So the first thing I think is really important is planning ahead. Like you said, usually when you're traveling, where you're going,
how long you're going to be there.
Yep. So what hotel you're going to stay at, or if it's an Airbnb, you can look at what's around in the area. If you're staying at a hotel, check the website, check the photos, check the reviews, right? To see what it says.
Reviews is good.
There are a couple of gyms in hotels that are amazing. And there are a couple of branches that have really, really great gyms. But even our sort of mid to low level gyms, mid to low level hotels, some of them have Pelotons and great fitness equipment, because more and more travelers are prioritizing health and wellness as they're traveling. So see what is available to you at those hotel gyms.
I also have athletes who do travel a ton for work, and they're members here at Edge, but they'll also have like a Planet Fitness membership as well, so that they know that when they go into a new city, that they're going to be able to use that facility and know really the layout already going into it. And so it's like, even if, let's say, their hotel gym is like under construction, inadvertently, they know what they can do at a Planet Fitness in the city.
Yeah, I love that. I have a gym membership that is not totally national, but in a couple of cities. And one of my favorite things is checking out how those gyms are in other cities, because there is some variation.
Yeah.
But it's consistently better than the hotel.
And it's going to be open, right? It's going to be open.
Yeah, exactly.
Other things you can do, especially if you're going to be doing something outside, is really great from a safety and also just recon, is checking out Trail Finders or Strava, or any type of routes that you can figure out before you get there. For me, I mean, as a woman running in a new city, I'm pretty safety savvy. Like, I'll always do it, but I want to know what I'm doing and where I'm going. So finding those Strava routes that have been heavily traveled, I think Garmin Connect actually shows you them as well on the public feature. It's really helpful, because it's like, well, if that's the most popular route, it's probably well traveled, so it's going to be okay to get my 5 miles in.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea. And also seeing if there are local run clubs or triathlon clubs that you could jump into a workout. Those folks will definitely be able to give you hints and tips about where to go, where to avoid. And then if there's a group workout, that's a great thing to jump into and maybe meet some new friends, maintain that sense of community, and get your miles in.
I love it. Bring BYO equipment. Definitely. There's so much that you can pack in a little bit of space. So like circular bands are probably the thing that we push on athletes the most, just because they pack up into itty bitty little rolls and they can make you very, very, very sore. One of our coaches just came up with bringing your own TRX, Coach Cow, shout it out. I mean, I've never thought about bringing my own TRX, especially if you're going to be somewhere for a while, you might as well. Like, it's easy to pack. Anything, that you can effectively get into a suitcase, do. I love the foam rollers that have the hollow center, because I can pack and roll my clothes and put them inside, and then you're not really out any extra.
I love that idea, but let's be honest, most of us have a foam roller at home that is just collecting dust. So I love the idea, and I think I probably did that 2 or 3 times, and I definitely brought it with it. I took my foam roller for a walk. I took my foam roller on vacation, but I didn't necessarily use it. But there have been times where I've thought about, I wish I had it now, knowing more, knowing that I should be using it. So I think it's a great idea, a good hack.
Let's not forget about just good old body weight exercises. I just finished up a way out with an athlete one of my athletes that I've coached for a really long time, and he ended up putting in 4 weeks, he put on 6 pounds of muscle.
That's awesome.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
He prioritized protein, which that's a whole nother coach Quip.
Yep.
But he was shocked at how much he put on at the end, because he was like, "Robyn, I was traveling so much, like I didn't necessarily have weights. Like a lot of the classes I was adapting to body weight only." And I was like, behold the power of body weight plus putting in quality protein. Like, kudos to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Body weight workouts, even if you have no gym, you will have enough space in your hotel room, or it can go outside and do something.
Yeah.
The other thing you just mentioned, like doing classes while traveling, we have our Zoom option for our fitness classes and on demand. So our members can get a good workout in no matter where they're at and when they're traveling. So that's also a good one to go to.
I think people too, and by people I mean I just did this, I was gone for a month and working remotely, right? And it was awesome and warm, and trust me, I'm really missing that lifestyle right now. However, I really missed people. I missed seeing people, and one of the best things honestly was joining a virtual class. Am I getting as good of a workout in person? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But just feeling connected and sweating enough, it really, really helps, especially if you're traveling a ton, and it gives you that anchor of, I know who you are, you know who I am. We also have virtual only memberships. If you're interested, just email me, Robyn with a Y at edgeathletelounge.com.
Yeah. One of the things that I do for my athletes when I know that they don't necessarily need strength every single day, right? Like that's not the schedule that they'd be maintaining here. So I try to keep a little bit of similarity with that, but I like to add in yoga after travel.
Yeah.
And so I have
same day.
Same day.
Cool.
Yep. Same day, or if it's a late flight, the next day, have that be a recovery and mobility session. So anything that would be your PT exercises, for example, any prehab exercises, or just the straight up yoga. There are so many good virtual options for yoga. We have our classes that you could stream, but also I have just a library of workouts from YouTube that I prescribe to people because they're great yoga sessions. They're 20 minutes or less usually. And it's something that people could do no matter what, because everybody travels with their phone or their computer.
Well, and let's be honest, you feel like junk when you travel.
Yes.
Right. After you're dehydrated, you're usually cranky, you've spent way too much time sitting or in a very static fixed position. So getting any type of blood flow responsibly is great. And everybody has 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody.
Exactly.
Just know how many days you need to train while you're there. So again, planning ahead, pack as many workouts as you need for the days that you need to work out. I've made this mistake myself. If I do not have a washer and dryer handy, I will then start to skimp, because I am the classic underpacker. I do not check bags. I want to just carry everything on with me, and I'll be like, oh, I'll just wash, my sports bras in a sink. And then inevitably that doesn't happen. And then that becomes my out for not doing my workout.
Right.
And that's just a bunch of garbage, because we all know sports bras do not take up very much room. So pack your workout clothes according to how many days you're planning on training, and then you're going to remove that barrier of actually completing it. And if you're stubborn like me, you're like, oh, if I packed it, I'm wearing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. And also, it gives you sort of a benchmark to tick off the days, right? Dirty, dirty, dirty. I still have this one clean. We've got one workout to go. Another suggestion is to make it fun. So you're traveling, you're going to somewhere else where you maybe you go there all the time for work. Maybe it's a new vacation. See what's around. You will have opportunity to explore different sorts of terrain, potentially different classes, and you should take advantage of that. So, we are flat AF in Chicago.
Yep.
And
We got a lake.
we got a lake, but not a lot of hills, right? So if you are training for something that requires some elevation, seek out some of those terrain pieces, running along a beach. I was just in California last week and had the greatest training that I've had in months, because as it turns out, it's really nice to run outside in the 60s along the beach. And
the miles go so fast.
Easy, even in my power pace, those miles tick away so quickly because it's just so lovely. It's such not that I don't like running in the cold. I actually love running in the cold, and I love running in the rain. I just also really love the change of pace, right? So when it is consistently cold and I'm either on the treadmill or suffering outside, having a sunny day did wonders for me. So keep it fun and explore what you might not have access to at home.
I think you just hit on a really great point, which I always come back to when I travel, which is I love experiencing cities and new places through running. I think those are free miles. It always goes so quickly, especially your first couple days there. And that's specific to me. Some people love doing it walking. Some people love doing it cycling. For me, those things are too slow and too fast. Running is perfect. Let me look at things. I can stop and take a picture. It's very kind of the speed of experience is perfect. So think about, as a tourist or when you're traveling, if you want to soak up your environment, think about what speed actually resonates with you and seek that out a lot, because it means something.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I lived in New York for probably 5 to 7 years before I realized how close some of the subway stations were.
Interesting.
And it was because I went on a run, and it was that exploring through running that I was like, wait,
they're all here.
That stop and that stop, actually, I can run in this amount of time. That's amazing. So it's the best way, I think, to see the lay of the land for sure.
That's our opinion.
Yeah.
we want to know what you like to do too. For me, if I had to get on a bike and look at stuff, I would just be a mess. I would see nothing. I'd be like, all right, metrics. Set goals, and they don't have to be goals that you typically chase, but I just had athletes travel to New York City, and I knew that we kind of rearranged their week. So we had midweek long run because we knew that they're going to be heavy on their feet, very busy on the weekend. And instead of giving them workouts, I gave them homework to actually submit their steps.
Oh.
And they didn't know they were competing against each other, but they were. And I told them after the fact. But it was cool because then they felt like they were completing something, but they didn't necessarily know, what it was. And I think they surprised themselves by just how much, even without running, how many steps they took in a day. I think there was 22 and 24,000.
Wow.
Yeah. They walked and walked and walked.
Yeah. I love that. And I also love assigning my athletes that sort of homework assignment as opposed to a workout, where recently had somebody travel to Washington, D.C. And I said, you have to run the mall. It is one of the most iconic runs in America. It doesn't matter your pacing. It doesn't matter how long you do it. I just need you to get out there and enjoy that run.
I do homework too. That's funny that we haven't talked about this before. I'll do homework on, usually not business trip as much because I know they're going to be shorter on time, but if they have to do runs, if they're going to be gone for many weeks at a time, on long runs, because I also want them to go real nice and conservatively, I'll give them assignments of 1 picture per mile, and then they upload it into my athlete chat. So if it's a 9-mile run, they better post 9 pictures, right? And it's cool because then we get to experience, the run as well. And they have to look for things as they're out and about.
I love that. And I think that makes the miles go by faster.
Yeah.
We'll do an episode on that sometime. Sure. The final thing I think about staying consistent while traveling is be willing to make some compromises and make adjustments. So things come up and you never can tell, if you're changing time zones, you might feel like complete trash on day 2, or if you have a late flight or an early flight, you might not feel as well as if you were just at home with your regular training day. So be willing to make those adjustments as you need to. But still try to be consistent, right? Know that you have bigger goals. You have to keep moving forward. But sometimes, I think you always say this, progress isn't linear, right? So we can't necessarily stick to the plan as rigidly as it's written sometimes. So shuffling, adjusting, that's the key.
Keeps it fresh. Something's always better than nothing.
Yes.
All right. For your bonus miles, just to recap these real quickly, we want you to plan ahead. BYO equipment, especially if you pack the foam roller Coach Chris definitely wants to see it. Have a few kind of go-to sessions that can be super effective, whether that's yoga or a short strength session. Pack your workout clothes for as many days as you are going to need them. Make it fun. That's probably the one that is like in neon signs. Adjust to where you are and seek out the things you don't normally have access to. Like, is it terrain? Is it altitude? Find a new metric in order to help make it fun. And don't be afraid to compromise, because we all know not everything's going to be perfect. It's travel.
That's right. All right. Happy traveling, everybody.
And tag us in those pictures too.
Yep.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Coach Quip. Original music performed by Mend. Follow us online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Edge Athlete Lounge. Our podcast lives in the blog section of our website. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and you can check out the show notes for additional ways to contact us. Ready, set, onward we go.